55,000 people a year were dying on our nation's highways, with half the number of registered automobiles. Today, we have something a little less than 40,000 people dying on our nation's highways, 6 million accidents, 3 million injuries. We've done a great deal to improve the safety of our highways. But still, imagine this. Some 39,000 people, and this was a safe year last year, died on our highways. If you started to break those numbers down, that would be the equivalent of an Airbus 319 or a 737 crashing every day, killing everyone on board to get to those kinds of numbers. That no one would stand for, because in aviation we have basically come to believe that it is the next thing to perfection, that record. Because if we had that kind of record, no one would get on an airplane. I believe we can get to I'm not sure comparable, but clearly begin the process of reducing the numbers of people that die on our highways through various technological solutions. And we have begun to do this, one of which is a result of a recommendation that the NTSB created and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the regulator, adopted, and that is the inclusion as standard equipment of electronic stability control in all of the automobiles that are going to be manufactured and sold in the United States by, I believe it's 2012. Is that it? 2012? What's that really represent? This technology that's about in 60% of our cars today. When we finally get all of our cars to have it, we will reduce the fatality rate by some 5,000 to 10,000 people a year with the simple act of installing that technological solution in our automobiles. And where did some of this technology emanate from? The aviation industry, the people, the engineering, the technologies that were created for your mode of transportation. There's more of that kind of thing out there, and we are working closely with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the car makers to try to make these cars as safe as they possibly can, because we've done a good job of mitigating the results. Bags come out, belts tighten, energy is absorbed. Now we can begin to prevent the accident from happening. And that's when we will really be moving into a new era of highway safety. Let me talk about a few recent accidents that we've been investigating. While the overall safety record in the U.S. is among the best in the world, and you know that, 2008 accident statistics reveal a mixed picture. We're particularly concerned about the spike in fatalities on the on-demand Part 135 air charter operations, which include the air medical, air taxi, air tour flights. These flights logged over 3.6 million flight hours and had 56 accidents, killing 66 people. The highest number of fatalities since 2000. That's not good. We had a good trend of safety. And last year, unfortunately, that string had moved in the wrong direction. We did a lot of work. Some of you may have either been or watched or read about the safety forum we did a couple months ago dealing with medical service helicopters and their accidents. Our most wanted list of safety improvements that I'll discuss in a bit. We continue to do everything we can to identify safety issues involved in that community and to advocate for the adoption of our recommendations. In general aviation, there were 1,559 accidents, 275 of which involved fatalities, killing 495 people. That's one fewer than last year, previous year. The number of accidents involving major airlines was 28, both in 2007 and 2008. The airlines carried, listen to this number, 700 153 million. That's almost 750 million with a B passengers on over 10.8 million flights without a single passenger fatality. Unfortunately, our string of success was spoiled in the beginning of 2009 with the tragic accident of a Dash 8 that occurred in Buffalo. Now, let me talk a little about that one. It was about 2 months ago. Continental Connection Flight 3407, a Bombardier Dash 8 Q400, crashed on top of a house during an instrument approach to runway 23 at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. 49 passengers, including the crew, were fatally injured. There was also a ground fatality. Preliminary examination of the airplane systems revealed that no indication of a pre-impact system failure or an anomaly. The airplane's maintenance records have been reviewed and no significant findings have been identified at this time. Excuse me. Examination of the flight data recorder and preliminary evaluation of airplane performance models shows that some ice accumulation was present on the aircraft prior to the initial upset event, but that the airplane continued to respond as expected to flight control inputs throughout the accident flight. Preliminary airplane performance modeling and simulation efforts indicate that icing had a minimal impact on the stall speed of this aircraft. Flight recorder data indicates that the stick shaker activated at 130 knots, which is consistent with the de-ice system being engaged. The data further indicate that when the stick shaker activated, there was a 25-pound pull force on the control column, followed by an up elevator deflection and an increase in pitch, angle of attack, and G's. The data indicate a likely separation of the airflow over the wing and ensuing a roll 2 seconds after the stick shaker activated while the aircraft was slowing through 125 knots and while at a flight load of 1.42 Gs. The tragedy of Flight 3407 is the deadliest transportation accident in the United States in more than 7 years. Circumstances of the crash have raised several issues that will go well beyond the widely discussed matter of airframe icing. And we will explore all of those issues in our investigative public hearing that's going to come up 1 month from today. And you'll be able to tune in to listen to our webcast at www.ntsb.gov and watch the 3-day investigative hearing that will occur in our boardroom. Now, what are we going to talk about in that hearing? Well, we're going to talk about the icing effect on the airplane's performance, cold weather operations, sterile cockpit rules, crew experience, fatigue management, and stall recovery training. Bird hazards, that's a famous one. We're going to do another hearing on that. That's going to be involving, as we all know, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 that ditched into the Hudson River on January 15th. We all know the wonderful, wonderful outcome that occurred in that one. People refer to that as the miracle on the Hudson. But there are still a number of safety concerns that we must explore, even with the successful outcome. Hazards to the aircraft due to bird water foul is one of them. We know that Airbus 320, A320, experienced dual engine failure after an encounter with Canadian geese. These geese are known as, and I'm going to show you that I'm very big on the species names. Bronta canadensis. Bronta canadensis. That's for the bird watchers out there, and you'll be able to look that one up. This accident follows a 5 fatal crash involving a Cessna Citation 500 that struck birds and was destroyed upon impact with terrain following loss of control shortly after the takeoff from the Wiley Post Airport in Oklahoma City. This one happened about a year ago. The crash of a helicopter in Louisiana 3 months ago, which killed 8 of the 9 oil industry workers that were on board, apparently encountering 1 or more birds. In the Oklahoma City case, which our staff has completed and will be presenting to the board soon, an analysis by the Smithsonian Institution's Feather Identification Laboratory revealed that the recovered splatter residue was identified as the remains of the American white pelican. This species is known as the Pelecanus athorus hunchus. That is common to the central part of Oklahoma. And from March to May, it ranges in weight from, listen to this, 10 to 30 pounds. Bird has a beak to tail length of 5 feet and a wingspan of up to 9 feet. That's bigger than some of the UAVs we're flying. In the Louisiana helicopter crash, the same laboratory identified bird remains on the damaged windscreen area and the engine inlet filters as a hawk. So a red hawk, red-tailed hawk. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. According to the USDA researchers, the risks to the aviation industry posed by bird populations have increased in the last few decades due to a number of factors, including the increase in air traffic. Also, the populations of bird species in general, although they've declined, the populations of nearly all large bird species, greater than 8 pounds, they've actually increased over the past 30 years. I don't want to be an alarmist, but in my view, something has got to be done about this. What would the industry do if suddenly there were a strange phenomenon that basically put 20-pound rocks up in the air somewhere that seem to be, in some places, floating around? What structures, what windscreens, what engines would need to be beefed up? What airspeeds need to be decreased or the flight paths altered? There are solutions. I am confident of that. They are not easy solutions, but there are solutions, and we're going to have to work very hard because too many accidents are being caused by this. I know that the Air Force has worked on some very interesting projects, something called BASH, and our folks are looking at their results, and their results seem to give us some hope. We've, for the record, scheduled a public hearing for the Hudson River accident on June 9th and 10th in Washington. That one, too, will be available on our website should you wish to tune it in. Dave asked me about what it was like to go out to the Steve Fawcett accident. That was, for me, one of the more difficult ones, primarily because we had to go up to an altitude of about 11,000 feet. National Guard helicopter put us up on the plateau, and then we had to work our way down to where the accident site was located. And even in our helicopter, where we were shown where the accident site was, it was very difficult to attempt to see it from the air.